There are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right. But there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
I think that
you understand? The Viet Cong are not all bad, but America's still dropping bombs. In Hiroshima, Japan wasn't bad, but she still dropped the bomb. In Korea, they weren't bad, but they still dropped the bomb. So now I'm going to forget the 400 years of lynching and killing and raping and depriving my people of freedom, justice, equality, first fired, last hired, the lowest of low, last respected. And I'm going to look at 2 or 3 white people who are trying to do right and don't see the other million trying to kill me. I'm not that big of a fool, and I'm not going to deny it. I believe everything.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is Talking Crazy 88, back again with another podcast for you on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I hope you're enjoying your day. As you might know, as you guys know, I've been on hiatus for a while. Not because I didn't want to do a podcast, because certainly I've been doing podcasts intermittently, but I haven't been posting them because I've been too busy. I had a new job, new responsibilities, and I had to also take care of some personal business. But rest assured, guys, I've been watching the new subscribers come on board. Hope you enjoyed the podcasts. I also got a couple of comments that, some of the new subscribers have enjoyed some of my podcasts, and I'm happy to hear that. Since it's 2016, and I know there was a New Year's Day podcast that I've done, but I haven't yet posted it yet. But I've been so busy, being productive. And that's the point of this podcast, that black folks have to start being productive, have to be constructive. And if you're not any of those things, if you're not being constructive or productive, then you're being destructive. But before I go into my sermon, I just want to talk about a few other things that I've noticed over the past couple of weeks regarding the Flint, Michigan water situation. And before it became a crisis, but this was going on for a couple of years, because I've known that Flint, Michigan has been going through hard times throughout the last 25 to 30 years. And mainly it has become a majority poor and majority black city up in Michigan, not too far from Detroit. I've never had the pleasure of visiting, but right now there's an issue with the water supply, which really is disturbing, but it's not surprising. It's not surprising to me that the government has been poisoning the citizens, as men, women, and children of Flint, Michigan. And rest assured, if you think this is happening in Flint, Michigan, you better think again, because this could happen in your locale. Or if this is happening in your locale, none of y'all is standing up and addressing this issue. Because this is an issue where you have the governor of Michigan, what's his name? Governor Snyder, who's pretty much sneering at the citizens of Flint, Michigan. These are probably people who, some of these people probably voted for this loser. And he's sneering at them, saying that the water is safe, but they've been drinking tainted water for years, lead-based water. The pipes have been corroded, and which created lead poisoning for the water for the water supply. People were drinking tainted water, and long-term effects of of the government's inaction is that there's going to be some people that's going to die from water poisoning. There's some people that's going to have health issues for the next 20 years. Or the black children up there are going to have brain damage because of lead poisoning, will uh, which will in turn create low functioning adults where they're going to be thrown into the system, or thrown into the prison system, thrown into the criminal justice system. It's really fucked up that the inaction of the government officials, again, inaction, is not surprising to me. Because they did it once before with Hurricane Katrina, where the government could not, with all the technology that they have, the military technology that they couldn't get citizens out of that city into shelter elsewhere outside of the city until they could figure out how to clean up the city. And to this day, this has been 10 years. And George W. Bush, he flew right over New Orleans, leaving black people to die. Leaving people to die, but mainly black people, because that's all I care about is black people. I don't give a fuck about white people, poor white people, because let me tell you something. Poor white people, this is what my father has said. My late father. My father told me about white people who are poor that's living amongst black people, is that, and I'm paraphrasing because this is not his words. I'm just paraphrasing. So I'm just sorry, folks. My phone got cut off because I had that. I'm just gonna edit some parts out of this video, out of this podcast. But like I said before, this is coming from Talking Crazy 88. That white people who are poor and living among black folks, other poor black folks, is because they are too poor and too stupid to move away. And I'm gonna let you marinate on that. When you have white people living, poor white trash living with black folks. Okay? It's not because it's not because they don't, well, it's not just because they don't subscribe to white supremacy. It's because they probably too poor and too stupid, if not synonymous, to move away from black people into white people, or move uh, away from black people into their white, to join their white brethren in white flight in these white enclaves that the white people live, the white supremacists live. For instance, sundown towns is another white enclave that where there's not a lot of black. Well, there isn't any black people living in their town, and if there is, the niggas got to get out before 6 o'clock, before the sun comes down. So I don't really have any real sympathy for white people in their plight because they're part of the problem. They are part of the problem. And what's going on in Flint, Michigan is another part of the problem of white supremacists that allowed a city like Flint, Michigan to rot to death. And I don't understand why the people there are still there. The black folks are still living there. But in essence, I do understand because they're too poor to move away. They don't have any resources to move. They don't have any money or resources to move. They don't know anybody in, let's say, in San Francisco, California, that they can live with for a while until they fix the problem. To me, the whole issue is the infrastructure. The problem is with the infrastructure. And the government of Michigan, the municipal government of Michigan, um, of Flint, excuse me, the municipal government of Flint, Michigan, don't have any money. They're broke. The state is broke. The state of Michigan is broke. Or they say that they're broke, but they're just not allocating money to Flint, Michigan, where they can go ahead and fix the lead pipes or create a new water treatment system. And instead of Nick, and this is where the video, not the video, the podcast is going to come in to being black folks being productive and constructive instead of being destructive. See, when you up here focusing on bullshit such as entertainment, going on the internet and fighting with some lost coon. Yeah, I said it, coon, and I shouldn't be calling names because, well, before I start with that, calling names, I just want to go ahead and give my condolences to the family of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, who has returned to the ancestors about a couple of weeks ago. Black folks, this godmother, the grandmother, the third generation physician, has left a wealth of information for us to follow. Left us information for us to be productive, to be constructive. There's nothing constructive about protesting or boycotting the Oscars. Let me tell you something. That's a white-controlled institution, white male-controlled institution, where it really doesn't matter whether or not I boycott the Oscars or not. It doesn't matter if black folks around the country boycotted the Oscars. It wouldn't matter because they're gonna nominate whoever the fuck they want to nominate. And it's a waste of time for you to just go ahead and follow behind these celebrities, so-called celebrities, who are being controlled and paid by the top the top people in Hollywood. You gotta remember, these people, these so-called black celebrities, they're rich, but somebody is paying these motherfuckers. And the people that is paying these motherfuckers are wealthy. They can buy and sell these motherfuckers if they want to. That's why Bill Cosby is having a problem, having all these legal problems. Because he probably didn't follow along protocol, and he did what he was told when he went out and did speeches against black people. You know, the anti-black rhetoric. All right, not talking in code, but blatantly criticizing black people in front of white people for the whole world to see. And I've always had a problem with that. I have a problem with a system where has a system that's really made caricatures of black people, stereotypes. That's what Hollywood is all about. Caricatures of black stereotypes, like that fuckery movie Star Wars, the recent Star Wars movie. I didn't see that shit. I'm not paying to see that shit, and I don't think anybody black should be paying for entertainment such as movies, which is non-constructive, and pretty much waste of your time. It's the waste of your fucking time to see that fuckery. To buy that, it's the waste of your time and money. And I know everything around us is controlled by white supremacists. I get it. But I only give my money unless it's necessary. Unless there's a need for me to have this certain product, such as food, water, shelter, clothes, transportation. Other than that would be unnecessary. Going to the movies to give a white supremacist give to spend $15 to go to the movies and give my money to some white supremacist to make the main character, character who's a brother, look like a slave. Fucking slave. Okay? This was the main character. Made him out to be a slave, a runaway slave. So I'll watch the shit. How they made this brother to be a punk ass bitch. I'll watch it, but I'm not spending any money to watch that shit. I might buy bootleg. Well, I might not even. See, that's another thing. I'm not even gonna buy bootleg. I don't even buy bootleg movies. Black folks, we gotta stop with that bootleg shit. Anyway, we gotta cut that shit out. But I'll go into that in another podcast. That's part of the code of conduct that we black folks got to get on board with. Because now it's 2016 and the year has not begun when they're trying to thin out the herd. And that's where the Flint water crisis come in. See, if there were black folks who really controlled the infrastructure, the economy of Flint, Michigan, the infrastructure, where there would be engineers working on replacing that pipe. They would allocate the pipes of Michigan, the corroded pipes of the pipes that lead from the water from the lake to the corroded pipes of the water system of Flint, Michigan. There would be black engineers because we don't have a lot of black engineers to work on this shit, or black-owned engineering firms that are specializing in working on uh, uh, solving the water problem. Because that water problem, sending bottles of water is not going to. It's just a band-aid. Donating millions of dollars to buy bottled water is a short-term solution to the problem. They need to allocate money on building a water treatment system. Okay? They need to reroute the pipe. They need to replace the pipes, reroute the water from the lakes in Flint, Michigan, all the way out to Detroit, to the water system out in Detroit, Michigan. They need to relocate these people out of Flint, Michigan until they take care of the problem. They need, and let me tell you something. The residents there should get free medical care for life. Okay? They should be able to walk into any hospital if they're having any health issues relating to drinking that nasty, filthy, corroded water. See, everybody's walking around just talking about this shit and sending money and sending bottle of water, doing something productive. But this is a bigger problem. This is the reason why we need more black engineers. We need more people who specialize in water treatment. Okay? Because let me tell you something. Because I'm telling you right now, black folks, 2016 is going to be even worse for black people this year. It's going to get worse. You think this is going to happen in Flint? No, it's going to happen all over the country, wherever there's poor people. Okay? I read an article down in New Mexico that the Native Americans out there are drinking and bathing in nasty ass water, but they don't get no attention about. They don't get no they haven't got any attention on that issue, but they will get attention on it on my podcast because even though they're not black, and even though that's not my issue, the Native issues is not my issues because I don't see a lot of Native Americans taking up for our issues. Okay, I will at least post that article that is just not in Flint, Michigan. This problem is going to be nationwide. Poisoning water where black. It kind of reminds me of that movie that I saw years ago called Three the Hard Way with Jim Brown, Jim Kelly, and Fred Williamson, where they have to stop a white supremacist from poisoning the water that will kill off all the black people, but it won't. It will, but the white folks will be unaffected by it. Okay. I haven't read the Turner Diaries yet, and this is another thing about being productive and constructive, using your time constructively and productively. Reading is much more important than watching TV, and I'm starting to see that shit because watching the Super Bowl next week. The Super Bowl is coming up next week. It's going to be a waste of a Sunday because there's nothing going to be on but pregame shows. Probably going to a party where there's nothing going on except nothing productive or constructive going on. Eating bad wings, bad food, drinking beer, alcohol. And all that, and to watch two teams play for a championship where they're going to benefit monetarily, where the owners of those two teams are going to benefit monetarily, they're going to profit. But what are you profiting from watching the Super Bowl? What have we profited watching the NFL's professional sports? Is that a good use of our time? Is that a productive or constructive use of our time? I think it's destructive to the mind. It's destructive to our health because we're eating bad food and drinking alcohol while watching these ridiculous games where we're not profiting, unless you're gambling on the games, which I don't really suggest you do. But that's your personal business if you want to gamble. You want to waste your money gambling. I don't do that shit anymore. I did that shit when I was in college. I don't do that shit anymore. You have to be a degenerate to be a gambler and waste your money placing bets on games where it's a sure thing you're going to lose. 75% of the time you're going to lose your money. I know because I was a degenerate. I don't do that shit anymore. It's a waste of money. Now, they may say, well, talking crazy, you invest in the stock market. Well, that's gambling. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, yeah, it would be gambling. But professional sports now, I'm seeing college sports in any aspect, I think is rigged. I think is rigged. But we won't go into that. I'll go into another podcast about that later, about how professional sports is a waste of time for black folks. And speaking of the Super Bowl, they got my brother Cam Newton, shitting on Cam Newton. Even though I'm not a Panthers fan of the New Orleans Saints, but even that, I'm trying to curtail my use of getting too excited about watching the New Orleans Saints professional football. But they shitted on this brother. Brother It's like a big kid out there on that field, just enjoying himself, enjoying what he does. And the black man can't even enjoy playing football without being called a nigger, a hot dogger, a disgrace to the game, arrogant, which I don't see any arrogance on this brother. I see a competitor. I see a guy that enjoys what he does for a living. And all you sorry ass white people, and that's why I said, white people, you are the problem. You are the reason why I am doing this podcast. You are the reason why I don't like you. Can't stand you. Because you are the reason why this brother is going through scrutiny. Now, if we wasn't living in a white supremacist country, a white supremacist world, there would be a system of justice. There would be white people on ESPN saying, hey, man, that's not allowed. He's just enjoying himself. Why are we fucking with him? And even that, even the people on, even the so-called sports commentators, those pussies out on ESPN, they won't even defend this brother. This brother ain't did nothing wrong. This brother didn't commit a crime. This brother did not rob a bank. This brother didn't. All he was doing is just enjoying himself, enjoying the game, respecting the game, playing the game that he enjoys, and that's playing football at a high level. Y'all just mad because the white people can't beat him. I kind of wish he did go. You know what? I wish the brother did go 16-0. I wish the Panthers had gone 19-0 and 19-0. You know, go into the Super Bowl undefeated and win. See, I'm not a Panthers fan, but I am a Cam Newton fan, and I have become a Cam Newton fan, and I support this brother, and I hope he wins. I hope he blows the Broncos out. I hope he wins. Because I'm tired of the black athlete, the black slaves, because that's what they are. They're on that big old plantation, doing what the master tells him to do, and then get shitted on for doing it well, doing it better than anybody else. Okay? Like they tried to do with Marshawn Lynch. Brother didn't want to talk. The guy got fined for not showing up at a Super Bowl press conference, media day. He didn't want to talk. He got fined. Can you believe this, people? This is white supremacy right here. The brother got fined for not speaking to the media. But see, I don't want to do all this. I don't want to do this sermon on just professional sports. I just had to rant for a little bit. Let me just slow it down and let me just bring it back to. Let me just bring this podcast, this sermon back to the title of the sermon. Black folks, are you being constructive and productive or destructive? And let me explain what I mean by being productive and constructive. Black folks should not be, as in the words of Neely Fuller, we should not really have any contact with each other unless it's constructive. Meaning that under white supremacy, and this is my interpretation, under the system of white supremacy, we should be coming together to exchange constructive ideas on creating a system of justice, creating an economy, building an economy for black people, is exchanging ideas on the law, history, just an exchange of ideas that are going to benefit black folks in the long term. Okay, we should not be, we should not be destructive and wasteful of our time. See, there's a Krispy Kreme out there who is not being productive or constructive. He thinks he is, but I don't think so. And the vast majority of people disagree with him. When you go out, when you're doing debates, what are you getting out of these debates with it, especially with a Krispy Kreme, who already had his mind made up based on his flawed logic? Okay? What are you gaining from debating? Because I don't debate anymore. I don't debate none of y'all Negroes. David, there's somewhat of a brother by the name of David Carroll who he I would say some of the things he said was coonish, but a lot of the things he said make sense. And one of the things that he said that made sense is that he doesn't debate none of y'all Negroes because y'all not at his level. And all y'all got y'all panties in a bunch, but y'all didn't understand what he was saying. What he's saying is that, and he explained it to you. So let me just slow it down for you. Let me just break it down so you can just understand it the way a third grader would understand it. If you're going to talk to him, if you want to debate him, bring something to the table. Besides, you're a coon, you're an asshole, you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. Bring up some facts. Bring up what material that you've read, and then you can have a conversation with him. You might be able to refute some of his arguments if you do that. But if you can't do that, then he's not going to talk to you because you have nothing constructive to say to him. You have nothing constructive to bring to the table. You're not being productive. You're not being proactive. You're not being productive. You're not doing this. You're not exchanging ideas so you can make yourselves better or make black people better. No. You just want to act like a fucking fool on YouTube for entertainment purposes, which is cool. But as black folks, we're under a system of white supremacy. We are under attack, and there is no time for entertainment. Time for entertainment is over. Playtime is over. These white supremacists are not playing with us. Okay? So if you're not in any of the engineering fields where you can just go up there, where the black engineers can go up there and see what they can do to correct this problem, this water treatment problem up in Flint, Michigan. Y'all not coming together, bringing money together to say, hey, let's contract some of these firms so we can get this problem taken care of. Cool. Where are all the black medical professionals that go up there to volunteer to go up to Flint, Michigan and start treating these people of lead poisoning? Okay? Who have these skin rashes. When they bathe in the water, they have skin lesions, skin rashes. Where are all the doctors out there that's going to volunteer their time and resources to the black doctors? Where are they? They're not around because they believe in that white supremacy separation. Once I've made it, fuck the people that I've left behind. Fuck the black people that I've left behind. I got me a white wife. I live in a white neighborhood where they don't give a fuck about you. They want you to get the fuck out of their neighborhood. Okay? Sending your kids to these white schools. And I'm going to have a podcast about that too. About excuse me. I'm not going to use, I'm sorry, I can't use that word anymore, but that's what they are. If you're up here spending your time and resources to send your children to the white school who are your enemy, to be educated by your enemy, you're doing your children a horrible service because you're not preparing them for white supremacy and the white supremacist attacks on that they're going to endure from the time from K to 12 to 12th grade. And I'm going to bring up some stories about that. And I'm going to do a couple of podcasts. I'm going to do a podcast on that, on how black folks should, in Detroit, especially in Detroit, they have, the teachers were about to walk out. The black teachers were about to walk out. And because of substandard conditions in the school, in the public schools. Even in the public schools, black folks are getting shit on. The black children are getting shit on. Okay? So we got to change our mind frame, and we got to change our mind. And I keep preaching about that. I'm giving y'all ideas on what we can do to gain control of our children, gain control of our family, gain control of the infrastructure that we're living. Because it's like Minister Farrakhan said, America's for sale, people. If you have the money, instead of bullshitting and bojangling and bullshitting and chasing pussy and being cooning and listening to some crispy coon talking shit about black people, you should be out there being a little bit more productive with your time instead of playing video games, listening to some crispy coon, fighting with a crispy coon. And let me just go on that aspect of the YouTube coons out there. There's a famous one that everybody loves to attack. Everybody loves to call him names. Everybody loves to call, including myself, I call him coon, a crispy coon, which I'm not going to do anymore. I'm not going to address this guy as a crispy coon, Tommy Sotomayor. I'm not going to do that anymore because it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time talking about this guy. And I was a fan until he started saying some bullshit. Before he wasn't talking all that bullshit. Yeah, the black woman this, black woman wearing weave, the black women, the hair-hatted hooligans, yada, yada, yada. But it gets old after a while. And you got to say to yourself, you know what? Yeah, black women are this, that, and the other. But there are a lot of black women who don't subscribe to that bullshit. But why are we allocating the time and effort to the black women who are just raggedy and coonish, or bed wenches, or the bed wenches that want to chase after white men? Because there are some black women out there that love chasing after these white men that don't want them, or the ones that do want them. There's something wrong. There's something hella wrong with them. And then they run around having these half-breed children who these half-breed mongrels, and I'm not letting the black men off the hook too that chasing after these white women as well. You're not off the hook either, because you're a coon, and the black woman that chases after white men are bedwenches. And you can never have a black family. There's no such thing as a black family when you're dealing with when you're in a relationship with a white person and breeding a half-breed mongrel who is going to be thrown into the black category. See, Black Pride said it best that, hey, there's about 10% of the population that are black, because the 2% are the foreigners that come off the boat who are classified as black, such as these Indians that are light-skinned Indians from India. They come over the country, they think that they're black, that they think they're white, until they get surprised when they get thrown into the black category. Because we don't want them motherfuckers in I don't want to be associated with them being black, because they don't like black people anyway, so fuck them. See, if you're anti-black, fuck you. I don't like you. Get the fuck out my face. Okay? If you subscribe to any anti-black rhetoric, get the fuck out my face. I'm gonna knock you out. Okay? we gotta, as black men, we gotta start. We gotta have the heart to say this shit to white people, to our women, to white women, to black women, to the bean eating spicks out there who want to fuck with us. Hey, because we got enemies all over surrounding us. But now is the time. Now, when you have your backs to the wall as black Americans, black men, black women, black child, we have our backs against the wall. And now it's time for us to start fighting. We need to start to take note of who our enemies are and eliminate them. And if that means we're going to have to die doing it in that process, hey, so be it. We're going to have to die. I'm going to have to die. I'm going to have to die for my survival. Because this is what it's all about. This is about, 2016 is about, genocide for black people. What's going on in Flint, Michigan? That's genocide right there, man. 60% of the population is black. And what they're doing is criminal. They always talking about that. They're talking about on the news that the governor should be arrested for manslaughter, homicide, assault, whatever. They're not gonna arrest that motherfucker because he's a punk ass. Number one, he's a white supremacist, and white supremacists are punk ass bitches because they hiding behind a code. They're being protected. They're hiding behind the code. And number two, I have never known any white person, white man, white female, white child to ever be go through the justice system for abusing black people. See, guys gotta understand white supremacy. I understand it. I'm learning about it every day. White people do not get. One thing I learned: white people do not get fired; they get transferred. That's one. And number two, white people do not go to jail, go to prison for abusing black people. They get rewarded for it. And this Governor Snyder, he's going to be rewarded. He might resign, but he will get rewarded. He might get another job. He might get another job that pays more money. Let's look at Imus. He called black women nappy-headed hoes. Black women on a basketball team. Well, he actually. He said it. I'm not gonna minimize it. And that's one black folks got to stop doing. Stop minimalizing white supremacist actions against you. Because I hear some Negroes up here running around saying, "Well, he only repeated what he said." Well, he said it, and he meant it. He made light of he made light of insulting black women, playing basketball. He got fired, but he got back right on the radio with a bigger contract. Is that justice, people? No, that's not justice. That's white supremacy right there, people. You guys got to understand what white supremacy is, what it is, how it works. I'm still learning, people. But gang, from what little that you learned from this sermon, because I'm gonna cut this sermon short, is that you gotta be productive and constructive with your time. You gotta be productive and constructive in anything that you do. You gotta figure out how to solve the problems in your community and stop waiting for the white savior to save you, because they're not gonna save you. The white people out in the governor's office out in Lansing, Michigan, they're not gonna do a goddamn thing for these people out in Flint, Michigan. They're laughing at these people. It's downright insulting. It's damn near insulting. Black folks have been shitted on again. The black folks up there in Flint, Michigan, been shitted on again. And all they can do is just send bottles of water to these people. When that's just a Band-Aid. When we don't have black engineers because they're out there wanting to be entertainment. They want to be rappers. They want to be stand-up comedians. They want to be entertainment for the people on the plantation. When you have a whole infrastructure available for you, for sale. No black contractors, no black construction companies going up there to, hey, let's go ahead and take care of this ourselves. This is why I'm a libertarian. And I think more black folks should be a libertarian, because libertarians can figure out a problem without the government solution, without aid to the government. Okay? You rely on that government, you will end up like these Negroes out in Katrina, waiting a week to be 2 weeks to be saved. Spending 2 weeks at a Superdome to be surrounded by dirty, nasty water. Okay? And race soldiers pointing guns at you, terrorizing you. George Bush came back 10 years later, and they celebrated with this nigger. That's right, this white nigger. George W. Bush is a nigger. Fuck him. He's a real nigger. That's the real nigger. He left you to die. He left black people to die. Okay? He left black people to suffer for 2 weeks, being terrorized. Not by the people in the Superdome, because all that shit was lies about niggas raping babies in the Superdome, raping women, raping babies. These people wanted to get the fuck out of there into shelter. That's all they wanted. They wasn't interested in committing crimes against each other. They wanted to get the fuck up out of there. If anything, they would have turned on these guards, these armed race soldiers out there pointing guns at them, commandeering a truck to get these people so they can get the fuck up out of there. Imagine you drinking that nasty water that's in Flint, Michigan, bathing in that nasty ass water, being poisoned for the next 10 years. You don't know what kind of health effects that you're going to have. You don't know whether you're going to survive, get cancer, you're going to die of lead poisoning, you're going to be sick in the hospital after 10 years. And the family of that estate has no recourse? Seriously? But anyway, find something constructive and productive to do with your time. Don't be destructive with your time. Don't be destructive to other black folks. Because we lost a sister we lost a great mother of fighting racism, white supremacy, and that's Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. But she left behind a legacy for us to follow. And it's up to you, black folks, whether or not that you want to be productive or destructive. Being productive is understanding racism, white supremacy, and being constructive, being productive, is using that information and implementing it in your lives so you can solve the problems that come up. And the problem is white people. And the problem is white people running the government. And the problem is white people controlling coons, black folks that are coons. Okay? Being destructive is going against being anti-black. Wasting time. Wasting your talents. That's being destructive, people. Well, listen, let me cut this podcast short. This is Talking Crazy 88. And I am out of here, people. And oh yeah, black folks, let's be careful out there, all right?